just keeps going up and up and up and up. That one finally some coconuts, but that one, wow. If I didn't cut my coconut trees, they'd be that high right now. And I love coconuts, but I'm not willing to die for them. That is high. And they get even higher. So check out today's video and learn the solution of how to get coconuts super dwarf. Check it out. Hello everybody, this is Paul and this is Fruitful Trees and I'm here with Dustin. And we are gonna have an amazing time today because Dustin owns Dsfruittrees and I've been there before. This is the guy that quit his job to sell fruit trees and now he has a nursery. And the thing he discusses and loves of all his amazing trees are these coconut trees. They're not just coconut trees, they're dwarf coconut trees, right?
Yeah, Fiji dwarf.
Fiji dwarf. And depending where you are, I don't want big coconuts, and that's why I took mine out because they were too high to get up to, but I don't want short ones in my front because people will take them. But if you're in the right situation, this is great. If my backyard was bigger, I'd probably buy every single one here because I love coconuts, and this is the way to do it. But they're too big for me to deliver to my house. 120-gallon trees that should give you coconuts in 2 or 3 years. But how many, you deliver this, right, to people's houses?
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. I can haul them on that trailer right there, or if you want a lot, we can get a semi, whatever we need.
And other trees as well. He has so many fruit trees, but this is it. If you're looking for the best coconuts to get, Dwarf Fiji coconuts. And this is certified because I know people that say they have these, but you come to find out after you get the tree, there's not these. The tree's growing way bigger than it should, but you're guaranteeing these are Fiji dwarf.
And the 120, if we say it's Fiji, it's going to be a dwarf tree for sure.
Yep, so this is the place to get them, and I'm going to put the contact information below. We're going to take a better look at these trees today, and we're going to talk to Dustin at Dsfruittrees. So here we go. Everybody, look at these coconuts behind me. Look how big they are. And when I first moved into my property here, I had a bunch of coconut trees in front of my house, but I knew they were eventually going to get this big. As a matter of fact, they did, and I left myself in a dilemma. This is my neighbor here, and he planted his coconut trees along the street. And he has a bunch. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all along the street. So when they get too big and he wants to cut them out, he simply is going to cut them and they'll fall in the street. He can get rid of them and replace them. Myself, I made the mistake by planting them in the yard. And that created a problem because I had so many fruit trees around it. And when the coconuts fell, they were falling closer to fruit trees and would break branches and things like this. So I made the decision with the small space I had to get rid of the coconut trees. Initially in this area, people will take coconuts, and I wanted tall coconuts like this because I wanted to make sure people weren't going to take the coconuts, and it's a lot more easier to get them if they're lower, but when they're tall like that, it's much harder to take the coconuts down. So I didn't mind doing the work to get the coconuts, but eventually it became more work and a safety issue than anything else, and also it was just too close to my other coconuts, so I had to go to another plan. And the only other plan I had other than getting rid of the coconuts was to get a super small coconut, which wouldn't have been good for the front of the yard because it's just too many people and too much foot traffic. So I went over to the back of the yard and I looked and I said, if I got a small tree, a small coconut tree, that would be ideal. However, the issue with that is one tree would have took up a big, massive space. So if you have a small yard, if you could put the coconuts in front of the property, that might be ideal, but in the back it might not work. Well, today on the show, I'm going to talk about if you have a big yard or if you have room for coconuts. The ideal coconuts would be trees where you don't have to climb up, that grow very slowly and you get many coconuts for years. And today on the show, we're going to have Dsfruittrees, and we're going to look and see the coconut trees that he found. These dwarf coconut trees that are guaranteed to be dwarf. Because when I was looking, I found some places that said they'd give me dwarf coconut trees or sell me them. But I was told mine were dwarf and they grew that tall. So they weren't dwarf. So I wanted a guarantee, and I'd really trust Dsfruittrees and what they're doing. So I wanted to go out there. They have a new property because this was the guy. I went to his farm and I interviewed him. Actually, it was his house, and he was selling trees out of his house. And I made a video and I called the video and it said, "Man quits job and is selling fruit trees out of his house." It was very successful video. And in his yard, I also wanted to look around to see what trees he's grown for his own personal collection. And he had these coconut trees that were loaded and super small. And I was like, well, how fast do these trees grow? And that's when he told me he has a big passion for dwarf coconuts. So he now has a nursery a little away from his house where he can sell even more trees than he normally has. And I was there. He was just opening up the nursery, but he had a whole bunch of these coconut trees. I said, I got to video this. So here is the video. If you are looking for dwarf coconuts, you want to contact Dustin at Dsfruittrees. I'm going to put his contact information below. A short video, but very informative. Here it goes. All right, everybody. Here we are at D's, and we're not in his house here. We're at his new nursery in Chrome Avenue here. I'll put the link below. How you doing, man?
Hey, welcome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for coming. We're not even quite open yet. I appreciate you stopping in and taking a look and see what we got going on here.
One of the main things that you focus on, besides having amazing trees that you've had in your backyard growing, but now you're going to do it at this nursery, are these special coconut trees.
Yeah, these are my Fiji dwarf neolecas. Some people call them Samoan dwarfs. A lot of people refer to the green ones as the Samoans, but yeah, this is one of the trees we just really get excited about and love to grow.
So explain that, because is there one kind of dwarf coconut or are there two different kinds? And how do you get them and other farms don't?
Well, there are many dwarf coconuts, but as far as staying really short, I've never seen any that stay short like the Fijis. When you get a purebred Fiji, it really, really is a short coconut, because once they get into nut production, they really concentrate on growing the coconuts and not growing the tree itself. And also the growth rings are always really tight. And that's one way to tell a true Fiji's once it grows and you see the wood, is the growth rings might be a centimeter versus several inches on like a green Malayan or something like that. How do we get them? We have good sources who have actually dedicated their life, who got them originally from someone who brought them from Fiji. He passed away now, but they have the original trees and they keep them isolated on groves out here in the Redlands. And I'm friends with them, and we've got a good connection on it.
So are they true to seed? Like if a coconut seed falls and you grow it up, is it that assure
as
you
long as it's not cross-pollinated, yes. But even with that, you've got to watch them. You got to grow them out. You got to get them to a certain size to make sure that they are coming out perfect. And all these here are what you would consider perfect. This is about the size you can really get a good idea on it. You can see how squatty and how tight all the growth is on these trees. So we do weed out some of the ones, or they weed out some of the ones that aren't coming out perfect. It's like a litter of dogs. You have your pick of the litter, and then you have ones that aren't, and some in between, and the same thing with the Fijis.
Well, how do you know? Is there a way the average person could tell if they're going to buy a coconut tree and somebody says the Fiji? What characteristics can they look for?
They can look for it. It is difficult, to be honest with you, if you really don't have the eye for it. But one of the main thing is you want to see how tight the leaves are in here. Everything's very tight. You can't even get your finger in between the leaves. And also when you look at here, you see how close all the new branches are. There's new branches very close versus being way spread out if you look at a normal coconut. And then once they get wood, you'll see that it's going to be really tight. And if you just get an overall look at the tree, you'll see how compact and tight they look compared to a regular coconut tree.
So a dwarf coconut tree, it'll still grow. It just takes a lot longer to grow.
Takes a lot longer, yeah. I know of a 30 or 40-year-old tree of one of these in the area, and I would say it has less than 12 to 15 foot of wood.
Wow, 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tree.
Wow, so these, the coconuts are yellow?
They come in bronze and green. So those
Bronze and green.
Yeah, and no matter what color it is a Fiji, but typically people are usually who are aficionados and who are collectors of Fijis, they're looking for this coloration, this bronze. This is like the true Fiji, the typical one. But a lot of people who are just coming in looking for a dwarf want those green Fijis like that. They like the green coconuts. They think it signifies more health or whatever, but really they're all the same.
Is there a difference in the taste or the amount of flesh you get?
No, they're all the same.
They grow the same size? Mm-hmm. So what size gallons are these?
This is 120.
120. And those, what are those short ones back there?
These are actually green Malayan.
Green Malayan.
Yeah,
So
those seed actually is they call it Jamaican certified green Malayan.
So, but they're not dwarf.
They call them dwarf because they fruit early, but no, they'll eventually get tall. You go to a lot of these hotels, on the beach, and a lot of the trees they grow are the green Malayans, and you see they are tall trees.
One of the special things you do is somebody like myself, if I wanted one of these, there's no way I can get a 120-gallon tree to my house. You deliver it and install it,
Correct.
right?
We're going to do these 3 with the blue tags. I'm doing these on Tuesday on Palmetto Bay. Yep.
Oh, you're going up there?
Well, Palmetto right here.
Oh, it's over here.
Yeah,
yes,
it's just north of Cutler Bay.
Wow. So give us an idea of how much retail something like this costs.
Retail is $1,350 for something like this, and
not for all 3 for one, right?
No, for one coconut.
Yes,
yeah, $1,350. That'd be like a pickup price if you had a trailer and I load you up. $1,350. Every backyard and every situation is different, depending on if I can get machinery to it, how the digging is there utilities in the ground. So that wouldn't be able to give you an exact price on that, but you'd be looking around the $2,000 mark delivered and installed.
Now, if somebody does get this, do they have to water it, or does it go right in the ground with no water?
Well, coconuts are hardy. If you want really great tasting coconuts and good looking coconuts, they like a lot of water. They actually like more water than we get rainfall in South Florida. So to improve the quality of your tree, to make it look better and keep them healthy, you should have regular irrigation, mulch, and a good palm fertilizer on the tree.
Are there any known diseases for coconuts in general?
There are some. There's one, I've never seen it, but I've heard you can get what's called bud rot. I'm not sure what causes that, if it's a fungus. But as far as Fiji dwarfs go, there actually are if they're 100% Fiji dwarf and dwarf, they're 100% resilient to the blight, the lethal yellowing. They won't get that.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing. And you have a tree in your house, several of these
I've actually got
dwarfs.
6 of them now, yeah.
And they're fruiting? How long do they fruit by the
2
time
of them are fruiting now.
So if you put this in the ground, how long before you get fruit on it?
This could start fruiting or flowering in 1 year and maybe fruit in 2 years.
Wow.
From this size.
Wow, and they stay short.
Yeah, they stay short. And the sooner you get them in the ground, the nicer the trees look, and the faster they're going to have fruit. Generally, I notice there's about no matter what size you put them in the ground, there's this 24-month lag to the time you're getting fruit on these trees.
Wow, okay. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put your link below if people want to arrange to have one of these shipped to their house by you and installed.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, if you want to make sure you don't run into this problem, definitely get those dwarf coconuts. Probably one of the best trees to have if you have the room. And I'm thankful for Deep. And one day I hope to have a place where I can get one of those coconuts and put them in the ground and just go out there and grab a coconut off the tree without even having to climb on a ladder or having a big stick in my hand. So thank you, Deep, for all the hard work you're doing. Everybody check out his nursery and all the information. I'll put the link below. Put your comments below. Until then, everybody, if you have a dwarf coconut tree and you've had success or experiences with these long coconut, these big coconut trees, let us know in the comments and give people tips and suggestions. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.